Hello, this is Greg from SharePoint Maven, and today I would like to talk to you about the different types of sites you can create in modern SharePoint and SharePoint Online. Now, with the classic SharePoint, with the old SharePoint that we had for many years, there were all sorts of templates, site templates and types of sites we could create. They're really no longer relevant. So I'm not going to be talking about them today, but what I would like to talk to you about today are the modern site templates that you can create in SharePoint Online. So there are actually 4 types of sites you can create, and I will go over all of them. And let me just jump in and show you what I'm talking about. So if any user, and you don't need to be an admin by the way to do that, if any user navigates to let's say a SharePoint homepage and hits the create button from here, of course they will get to see these 2 choices. I'm sure you have seen this screen, this page previously, and the 2 choices are the user can create a team site and a communication site. So these are pretty much the 2 options available to the end users. I blogged extensively about team sites and communication sites and what they are and what the use cases are for those types of sites. So you can find that information on my blog. But let me just give you a quick overview of each site template. So you would use, let's start with the communication site. You would use a communication site template for one-way information sharing. So this is the type of site where you don't really expect much collaboration. This is really just an information to share with the rest of the team and store some documents, store some other content. But again, you don't expect any kind of two-way collaboration happening. A great example would be HR, human resources department, right? HR always needs to share something with the rest of the employees, so communication site is exactly the type of site you want to use for this particular scenario. On the other hand, we also have this team site template, and what this is actually a SharePoint site that is meant for two-way collaboration. But this is not just a regular SharePoint site, it's a site that is tied to an Office 365 group. All right, and the idea is that whoever is the member of this Office 365 group, they get access to the site, equal access to the site, and everything the group has to offer, like Planner, Teams, Outlook, etc. So when you use this option, when you create a site using this template, you are essentially creating an Office 365 group, security group, membership group, and obviously you still get a site that is attached to this group, but you also get all the other bells and whistles that are part of the security group. Using the same HR example, right? So HR might have an employee-facing site, and then for all the employee stuff, and then of course HR will want to have a private team site for collaboration and within the HR department. So they would use this template to do that. All right. Let me just quickly go. Quickly and create one site, one of each, just so that you can see what it looks like, and then I'll get to show you the other templates you can create as well. So let's start with the communication side. So let's just use the HR example. You give it a name. It obviously goes and checks to make sure that the URL is available and everything. And then you click finish, and the communication site is created. All right, so let's wait. It doesn't take long at all, just a few seconds really. So here we go. This is what the communication site looks like, and it's just this white screen, visually appealing site, right? It has this hero web part and other web parts. There is no left-hand side menu. It's actually on top over here. And in a nutshell, this is just a regular SharePoint site. Obviously, it has the modern look and feel, but as you can see here, the 3 security groups and everything, just like on any other SharePoint site. But this is what it looks like. So again, you would use this template to create a site when you want to communicate something, share information with the rest of your employees or your rest of your organization. All right, so let's continue now. Let me now create a team site. And again, what I'm showing you right now is not something that a SharePoint admin needs to do or somebody within an IT team. These options by default are available to everyone. All right, right now Microsoft gives lots of powers, to the end users, regular users of SharePoint Online and Office 365, and the idea is that, right, there is no there are no barriers, no friction. If I need to collaborate, if I need a site, I don't need to call IT. I just can go here and create a site. I can create a site by myself without bugging anyone. All right, so in this case, I'm going to create a team site that is tied to an Office 365 group. And by the way, there are at least 20 ways to create this team site. Just because it's tied to the groups, right? If you do the same from Outlook, or if you do the same from Planner or Teams, any one of those, anytime you create a new team or Planner or an Outlook, group in Outlook, it pretty much spins up an Office 365 group and all the other bells and whistles. So it doesn't really matter where you start from; you always get the same package, kind of, all right? In my case, I decided to start from SharePoint Homepage. So here we go. Team site. Again, you just spell it out, give it a name. It goes through kind of a little bit of a background check, right, to make sure that the email address is not taken, the URL address is not taken. Remember, we're not just getting a site, we're getting a distribution list. That's why it goes through this email address check. We're getting a calendar in Outlook for our group, we're getting Planner, etc. So yeah, that's why it goes through all these checks. You set up the different permissions, public or private, depending on the type of access you want for your little team site. It probably would be private 99.99% of the time. And hit next. You can add additional owners and members on this screen. Let's not worry about it here. And let's see. Look at this. We ended up with a SharePoint site. But again, this is not just a regular SharePoint site. This is part of an Office 365 group. Here it is. It tells us here, private group. And it's based on membership. So you see whoever I invite here will get kind of equal access, right? I invited Mary. Of course, I can promote her to be the owner, but let's leave her as a member. So essentially, Mary will get now added delete privileges to the site, to the Outlook group calendar that is part of this group, to Planner and Teams, all right? So that's what this template looks like. This is the second template I wanted to show you today. And it's probably a little bit more familiar to you, right? I'm sure you will have lots of Office 365 group sites, team sites for collaboration in your organization, and it has this familiar left-hand side navigation, unlike the communication site where it was on top. All right. So that was the second template. Now there are two more I want to show you. So these two choices I showed you were the only two choices available to our end users. But if you are a SharePoint admin, if you have SharePoint admin role within SharePoint Online and Office 365, then you have additional choices. Let me show you what I mean by that. So now I'm going to go to my admin center. So first I'm navigating to my Office 365 admin center. From here I'm navigating to the SharePoint admin center. And if I click on active sites, and of course you will see a list of all the different sites I have in my environment. But if I hit create button over here, I get to see the same two choices, just like everyone else, just like the rest of my users. But I also have this other options, capability over here. So if I click that, here's the third type of site I wanted to show you. And it's also called team site, so it's a bit misleading, because the other site that I just showed you was also called the team site. But if you read over here, it actually tells you this type of site. If we use this type of site, it's not affiliated with an Office 365 group. So when you create the site, it does not create a group attached to it. It does not create Planner, Teams, or Outlook calendars or distribution lists. It's just a regular. So what you get really is just the look and feel of that other site I just showed you a minute ago, and nothing else. All right, nothing attached to it. So let me go ahead and show you what it looks like, or at least what will happen. If I were to create one. Apparently, I already have a finance team site. So as you can see here, it recognizes that, but I'm going to assign it a unique URL. Here we go. You'll then need to make yourself an admin over here. I'll specify who will administer the site, and then click Finish. And let's see what happens. So it's obviously creating the site. Shouldn't take long either. And let me show you what will happen. So what will happen is, of course, right, it will create a site, a regular team site, but and it's going to pretty much have the same look and feel as the Office 365 group site, but it's not going to have any group or any of that group stuff attached to it. So let's see. Hopefully, it will spin one up relatively soon. Here we go. It did create it. So let me see. Here we go. Let me click on the link. And this is what it looks like. All right. Again, looks pretty much the same. Doesn't have any links to Teams or Conversations or Planner like on the other one. Doesn't have any membership thing going on, right? It just, if you go to site permissions, you will see the same groups and everything on this site. So it's a regular site. Now, why would you want to use this type of site? Well, sometimes, right, maybe a particular team, they don't really need all the bells and whistles of an Office 365 group. They just literally need, they like this maybe template, right, the left-hand side navigation, maybe some other web parts, but primarily they just maybe need it for document management. They don't really need anything else. In this case, they would use this particular site template. But let me show you something else, something that's really, really cool. Let's say you created this site, right, for your team, and then 6 months down the road they tell you, hey, now we want to use Teams, and we want to use Planner, and we need a distribution list and a calendar. Well, not a problem. What you can actually do, you can actually connect this site to an Office 365 group. So you can essentially promote this site to a group. And when you do that, and it's very easy, it pretty much carries you through the steps. All right. Again, it just double checks to make sure that the email address is not taken and all that stuff. You assign the same, all the permissions and everything. And essentially now it creates a security group that will be attached to the site. And of course, in the background, it also creates the Planner and Outlook calendar attached to the group. And of course, you can create Teams later and connect to it as well. And look at this. I just converted my site. It tells us here it's a private group now. We get the membership thing. So it's a great way, right? It's a great way actually to maybe when you initially implement in SharePoint and your folks don't really need the bells and whistles of an Office 365 group. It's a great way to introduce them to a SharePoint site and then later on at some point convert them to an Office 365 group. All right. And by the way, if you were to create a communication site, communication sites cannot be connected to an Office 365 group. All right. You can only connect other types of sites, but not a communication site. So if you start with a communication site and then Teams tells us, hey, we now need to do a two-way collaboration, unfortunately, you're out of luck. You need to, at this point, to create a brand new Office 365 group site. All right, so this was the third option as far as the third template, I should say, as far as the the type of site you can create. The last option I want to show you, available again to you to you as admins. If you hit create over here and click other options, again on the team site, this is the site template we just created. This is the this is the team site that is not connected to groups. If you click the drop down, you will get to see the templates. And what these are classic templates that we used to have in classic SharePoint. All right, so essentially these choices are classic site collections that would be created if you were to choose one. And if you click here, you will actually end up with a screen that looks like this when it loads. And you see, because it's classic, it takes a while for it, for the screen to be loaded. Here we go. You see how it looks? It looked like this for many years. But in all honesty, I don't really see a reason why you would still create a classic site collection, right? I mean, you obviously have now all the different classic site templates that you can create, but in all honesty, I just really don't see a reason why you would need those with modern SharePoint. But it is an option. It is an option. It's an available option. So I wanted to, to make it available and go over it with you as well. All right. So again, just to summarize, there are 4 options that exist as far as site creation for templates, I should say. These two are available to your end users, and of course you can also create the theme site that's not connected to groups, as well as a series of all the classic sites as well. All right. Hopefully you learned something new today, folks. I really appreciate your attention, and I hope to see you again on my blog, SharePointMaven.com, as well as my YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.